Twitch gave this VTuber a warning and it went absolutely viral on Twitter. So the viral tweet in question is this tweet made by Davey, who goes by the Twitter handle FreakFather, writing, "Can we be deadass right now?" And it is in quote retweets to a tweet that was made by a creator by the name of Radia, who goes by the Twitter handle radioactive_VT. This was on November 10th, and Radia writes 5 seconds. "I accidentally zoomed in on my chest for 5 seconds while I was trying to adjust my mascot. No sexual themes, no violation of the dress code, no exposed bits. 5 seconds. Are you kidding me, Twitch?" And they received this message from Twitch in their email, which reads, "Hello, Radioactive. Twitch is committed to keeping our community safe for everyone, and as part of that, we require everyone to abide by our TOS. So, based on a review of your activity or content, we have issued a warning on your accounts. The reason is content classification of sexual themes, and where it occurred on stream or VOD, which was their sisterly Sunday stream with another creator by the name of Adora Bunny." So there was some misunderstanding here because a lot of people, I think, read this and assumed that Radio was banned for it, which is actually not true. Radio just received a warning, so it's not a ban. People regarding this warning were on two sides of the coin. We have people like Holly Jolly Paco writing, "Look, I don't know you, but please don't play dumb. The both of you, especially Adora." And for clarity, Adora is the creator on the left. "Have super obvious in-your-face cleavage. Even my big-breasted self wouldn't be surprised at getting a bop. Having big boobs and a little cleavage is one thing, but y'all pushing on purpose." Radia says, quite literally in line with the TOS. "Outfit isn't the issue here." Holly writes, "No, it's not the outfit. It's the obvious amount of boobage that you can't argue don't have a lick of sexual purpose." Nepsis writes, "That ... doesn't matter. That's still super within TOS. There's nothing in TOS that states your boobs can't be big. Even cleavage is fine according to TOS." Tyler Habraken writes, "It may not matter per the letter of the law, but clearly it matters per the spirit of the law, or else no action would have been taken." Adora Bunny, who is the other creator, writes, "Actually wild. We are wearing business professional clothing well within the attire, and the zoom was 5 seconds and accidental and immediately reversed." And Radia says, "Genuinely was insane." Tomato Master writes, "Legitimately so whack. There is no reason you should have been classified as sexual for this." And Radia says, "There really was no reason to classify this as sexual." And a lot of people just, again, have the sentiment that Twitch has a bone to pick with VTubers. With Blueberry writing, "Usually it just takes 5 seconds zoomed in on a certain VTuber part of a VTuber model for Twitch to use it as an excuse to ban a VTuber. Twitch likes to treat VTubers like crap." Again, Radia wasn't banned, they just received a warning. And on the quote retweet by Davey, which is the one that went viral with 6.6 million views and 216 likes as of filming, and people are dropping memes. We have No Elations writing, quote, "No sexual themes," end quote, with a meme of a dog just like facing a corner, and the Snapchat caption reads, "He thinks we can't see him." We have Juicy Grease writing, "At least half of the body is boob, LMAO." Little Crow writes, "Like, there's definitely a problem where just having bigger, curvier parts of your body is seen as inherently sexual, and that's wrong. But like, when it comes to VTuber avatars, they're most assuredly doing it on purpose, and nobody can convince me otherwise." Davey says, "They should let people pin reply tweets under the original post." Revividly writes, "No, I think I agree with this. Quote, some people's chests are inappropriate, end quote, is just 100% sexism." Davey says, "If a dude has an avatar with balls the size of tomatoes on Twitch, I promise you would not have this take." Aria Ars writes, "I'm probably the first one to say that Twitch is treating VTubers unfairly, but this is ridiculous. How the hell did she think they was okay?" I feel like this situation kind of falls into two parts, and there has been a lot of discourse online about this scenario, about both sides of the coin, with one discourse being, is this warning fair? And the second discourse, again, just being the whole kind of like state of VTuber policing on Twitch. And I guess the third conversation is chess being perceived as sexual. So regarding the warning, in my interpretation of Twitch TOS, I don't think either person's outfit was the issue here. So Twitch has updated their attire policy to add more clarity. So the updated attire policy now reads, "We do not permit streamers to imply or suggest that they're fully or partially nude. We also do not permit the visible outline of genitals even when covered. Broadcasting nude or partially nude minors is always prohibited regardless of context. For those who present as women, we ask that you cover nipples and do not expose underbust. Cleavage is unrestricted as long as these coverage requirements are met and it is clear that the streamer is wearing clothing. For all streamers, you must cover the area extending from your hips to the bottom of your pelvis and buttocks." So again, according to these rules, the cleavage, no matter how much cleavage you're showing, is okay. So in this interpretation of the law, the Twitch law, both creators Radia and Adora would fall under the allowed policy. Now, Twitch has another policy in which they do not allow the zooming in or focusing your camera on sensitive parts of your body, including your chest and your crotch. That is just straight up not allowed on Twitch TOS. You will get in trouble for doing that, even though it's accidental. So in that case, Twitch issuing a warning to Radia for doing this it's fair in the interpretation of Twitch's TOS. Does it feel good to get struck down or a warning or something for a behavior that you did that is accidental? Of course it doesn't feel great, but at the same time, that is the law, and therefore Twitch is allowed to enforce it as they see fit. There have been cases with other accidental things happening on stream and streamers getting banned for it, or warnings, getting in trouble. There have been scenarios in the past with female streamers who have flashed the camera. The streamer states that it was accidental. People online have speculated that potentially it was an intentional thing. If it is accidental, right? You fall over, you accidentally flash the camera, and then you get bans. Does that feel good? No. But at the same time, there is a rule that you cannot flash the camera on stream. So if you did do that, then Twitch is completely fair to issue a warning or a ban towards your account. Same thing with speeding. There is a speed limit of 60 miles per hour. If you're driving 70, technically the cop is completely in their right to pull you over. Does it feel good to get pulled over going 10 miles over the speed limit when you're on a freeway? No. But again, it is in the law that they're allowed to do that. But I feel like this warning that happened to Radia has also kind of been used as a talking point in terms of discussing VTubers and attire and kind of sexual behavior that VTubers have been doing on stream. And again, we have the two creators, with the creator on the right being Radia and the creator on the left being Adora. And it's actually unfortunate that Radia was the one that experienced the warning, but Adora has been catching the most flack online just due to their model having a larger chest. And a lot of people online have been debating the plausible deniability of making the statement, oh, breasts should not be inherently sexual, versus hiding behind that statement in order to do potentially slightly sexual content. So we have Twitter user Lenasa Brewing, I hope I read that right, writing, "Y'all know I'm the desexualized breasts movement strong a soldier, but at some point it needs to be recognized when someone is using it as a shield to cover them openly trying to cater to an audience that does sexualize them. Like, this is not an accident. Do not play stupid." It's like half the VTuber community thinks plausible deniability is a perfect 360 full body shield. Like, quote, "No, I'm not meant to be sexualizing this thing. I'm just intentionally courting an audience of dudes so horny they can hit a home run with it," end quote. Can we be serious, y'all? Like, you cannot say that your model having El Kabongs 3 feet from their shoulder blades has no ulterior motive when you got Pazori Patrol 9000 in chat gifting 10 subs every hour on the hour. Brad Kokaro says, "Yeah, a woman naturally having big boobs is really not the same as somebody purposely designing a character with boobs that take up half their body. It's the same thing with those VTubers who make their models look like toddlers, then get mad when people say they look like toddlers." OP writes, "That's another big issue the VTube space has with plausible deniability. They'll say, quote, 'This model isn't meant to be a child, it's just a short adult,' end quote. Meanwhile, the proportions are of a child, and they in their chat throw on lolly emotes and terminology like confetti." The answer says, "Not only that, but in my opinion, they're using the, quote, 'big boobs are not sexual, blah, blah, blah,' end quote, yet they fail to acknowledge that their shirts are way too open to use this argument. They know exactly what they're doing, then point the finger when they get caught." Barely Alex writes, "Yeah, at some point when sliding the boob size slider, you gotta know what you're doing, lol." Dan Stacks writes, "There's a difference between, quote, 'This is not sexual because I was born with them and I cannot change that,' end quote, and, quote, 'I have literally hand programmed the jiggle physics from my 87 Triple H cups for the avatar I personally designed," end quote. Trans Goku writes, "Anybody with breasts can't control how big they are or having them other than surgery, but a VTuber model is specifically for customizing." And Jade writes, "This ban only happened when they accidentally zoomed in, meaning Twitch was completely fine with it until their boobs covered the screen. I feel like that's completely fair for a moderation system to flag. LMFAO. If you're naturally born with big breasts, it can definitely be a really frustrating experience because you will be sexualized even if you don't want to. I have friends who are very gifted in the chest department, and it is an uphill battle for them. They either wear really oversized shirts, and it makes them look like a tent, or they wear skin-tight clothing, and then people will sexualize them. And even if they wear any regular cut top, like this one, for example, it would show a lot of cleavage because they just have big boobs, no matter what they wear. If it's not a turtleneck, it would show cleavage, and people would take it as a sexual thing. And it's not fair for them, wherein they're just trying to live their life and mind their own business. I do have to say that a VTuber model is, in a way, a different thing. Again, I can understand if you want to have your model represent how you look like IRL, if you do choose to give your VTuber model absolutely massive bazookas, and then you also do choose to then dress your VTuber model in an article of clothing that shows a foot or more of cleavage. I feel like you can't play the surprise Pikachu face when people will then sexualize your model because it's just a lot. And I feel like the thing is with VTuber models, again, it's fully an artistic choice. And you as a VTuber model, if this is a custom model, had at every single point of the way artistic control over how the model looks like. And that's the beauty of being a VTuber. You can be anything. You can be a four-legged dino, you can be a cow, you can be a bunny girl if you wanted to. Anything your heart desires that is within the artistic limitations of your artist and your rigor, you can make it happen. So if you do choose to give your model really big big boobs or adjustable boob toggles where you can have a slider to make it bigger or smaller, you do also have to recognize that there are going to be potential consequences that come along with it, like Twitch's sexual enforcement. We have this tweet by Zinthi, which I think makes a very good point as well. And Zin writes, VTubers keep using others to make a point, and I think it's kind of gross. Like, don't pretend you're not sending hate to SK right now. Like, for one, VTubers pay to look how they do. Don't hate other streamers for playing the same game you are. Get mad at Twitch if anything. And here we have somebody by the name of Monsdelicious writing, how is that not okay, but Fleshtuber can stream like this. And again, you have SK. She is wearing a top that shows a fair amount of cleavage. She's very gifted in the chest department, and that's a quote retweet to Radia's post. Zin continues, are VTubers unfairly moderated? Maybe, but you're either calling for more moderation or less. The change you are calling for doesn't change the fact that you would still get banned. Also, SK is really sweet and gets hate all the time for how she looks. Her chat is heavily moderated because of freaks. Does she have a niche? Of course, but so do you. Hachimitsu writes, I've seen that old school RuneScape streamer before, and I'm assuming she doesn't zoom in on her boobs from the few minutes I've seen. Albeit an accident, they can't turn a blind eye for less significant accidents versus severe accidents. Example, unintentional flashing of boobs, or something along those lines. Consistency and moderation is key. That being said, I don't keep up with this stuff either, so I'm not entirely sure on Twitch's consistency either. And Zin says, yeah, there's a lot of VTubers that will, quote, accidentally, unquote, hit a toggle and flash their audiences, Fillion, or similar instances for a joke too. It's like, yes, it could be accidental, but that's also the excuse for people who do it intentionally. I'm all for consistent moderation too. Paprika Plug says, I'll never be able to take a post that says Fleshtuber seriously. And Zin says, she's also not even breaking TOS LMAO. The OP got tagged with sexual themes because they adjusted their VTuber and the chest was main focus for a couple of seconds, which does break TOS. But you can also set a hotkey to move your model to where you need it, so this doesn't happen, lol. Vint says, man, honestly, that shit is weirdly misogynistic and I'm so tired of it. Zen says, for real, it's hypocritical too. Like, look how gross this person is for doing the same thing I am. And Faye Solstrom says, I actually hate VTubers that do this. Like, sure, people play around the rule, but SK hasn't done anything wrong. VTubers pay for their model, they know exactly what they are doing, and they witch hunt facecam streamers because they're salty they got banned. Again, this whole discourse is not about Radia and Adora. By the way, this is like an overarching thing about the other creator, Monsdelicious, that made that tweet. But it's not just them, right? Like, this happens every single time a VTuber gets banned for something remotely sexual. And again, a lot of times, in my opinion, you may play the card like, oopsies, right? This was an accident. You kind of had to have known, right? Like, same thing with VTubers that wear like really skimpy bikini bottoms and then have like a transparent cover up over it. And then they're like, oh my God, I don't know why I got banned. Again, it sucks that Twitch increased their moderation on attire to where now VTuber hips must be fully covered. Not just VTuber hips, everybody's hips in general. If this moderation rule was then updated, you can't be surprised that if you're wearing attire that doesn't follow the guidelines, that you would then get banned for the attire that doesn't follow the guidelines. And it happens to both VTubers and cam streamers. But every single time that happens to a VTuber, the entire comment section is always full of female streamers wearing different levels of clothing, being like, how is this okay? But my favorite Oshi got banned for wearing this equally skimpy level of outfits. Look, me personally, I have nothing against VTuber hips. I have nothing against hips in general. I have nothing against cleavage. But we do know that Twitch has these attire guidelines, and you cannot be surprised if you then get in trouble due to the guidelines that Twitch has enforced. Just like we know, Twitch now has guidelines that you cannot zoom into your chest and your crotch, which, again, let me clarify, Radia's warning that they received on Twitch was not about the attire specifically, it was about the zoom in. We know that there is this warning. We know that there is this guideline that Twitch has, so if you engage in behavior, albeit intentionally or accidentally, that goes against the guidelines, you can't be surprised that there will be some sort of punishment for it. And I would say, honestly, a warning is the smallest thing you could get. Cam streamers and VTubers are not the same thing. If you're somebody with breasts, you're just born with it. And you're born with the size they are unless you undergo surgery. And that is completely your choice, right? Again, with a VTuber model, that is something that is drawn and made, and you had an intentional choice in choosing the size of the chest of your VTuber model. So again, I can completely understand on one side of the coin if you physically are big-chested IRL and you want your model to represent it, but there is also another side too, where it's like if you did intentionally choose to give your model big bazookas. And at least for me, I'm a little concerned about Twitch's moderation about this in the future, because we know that every single time there have been people walking the line in terms of sexual content on Twitch, Twitch will react in terms of their moderation. This happened in the past with girls streaming in bikinis on Twitch. That was a thing that girls were doing for a while, and then Twitch was like, hold up, we're gonna actually try to ban this. So then Twitch Twitch was like, okay, we're gonna make a pools and hot tubs category. So if you are in a pool or a hot tub, you can be in a bikini. But if you're not, then you're not allowed to wear that. So Twitch updated their moderation policy to respond to creators with their attire. And then streamers on Twitch started using heavy focus on their sensitive parts of their body. So there will be streamers who would be streaming Fortnite, except Fortnite would be a quarter of the screen and they would sit on a clear chair and point a camera up their butt, and that would actually be almost the entire screen. So because of that, Twitch changed their moderation policy and was like, nope, you now no longer can focus the camera onto your chest or your groin because that is against TOS. And then streamers got creative again and they started doing the implied nudity meta, where they would wear a tube top and then oil up their chest and purposely crop the camera like right above where you could see the tube top so it looks like they aren't wearing clothing. And then Twitch changed their moderation policy and was like, hey, we're not gonna allow that. And then, a while back, Twitch was like, yeah, artistic nudity is allowed, and then a bunch of VTubers stream naked, and then that is no longer allowed again. I think this is an interesting conversation to have. Radius ban, I personally think was fair in terms of Twitch's TOS, because they do have a TOS against zooming into your body parts, so if you did, even accidentally, right, you would get a warning for it, which is the most slap on the wrist you can get, right, the least severe. But there have been trends of VTubers with boob toggles, intentionally making it much larger, and I've seen VTubers, have confetti or stuff sprout out of their chest where they would spray it at the camera. I honestly think it's kind of funny, but Twitch has their policy against sexual content and the guidelines they're trying to constantly follow along with. So part of me is a little bit concerned that there's been this kind of meta with VTubers. I wonder if this will be something that Twitch down the line might try to rope into their moderation. I hope that's not the case because that would absolutely suck, but we never know, right? They're always updating and changing their moderation policies. And as streamers, the only thing that we can do is honestly just keep along with it. And every time they update and change their moderation policies to kind of make sure we stay within guidelines to avoid bans. At the end of the day, Radia just received a warning. So I think that is the best case scenario, right? Because Twitch has definitely been much harsher to other creators. So it's just a little slap on the wrist. As long as you don't engage in this behavior again, then they're not going to enforce their moderation anymore. And I do feel bad for the other creator as well. Even though the warning was issued for Radia, a lot of flack has fallen on Adora. They just kind of got caught in the crossfire in this scenario. A lot of people thought there was a ban and that Adora was the one that got banned, which is the orange-haired bunny VTuber, which is not the case at all. So anyways, I'm curious about your thoughts on this scenario. Again, don't send hate to any of the creators involved in this, right? And if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like to subscribe, and don't forget to check me out on Twitch. I do stream there 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. I hope to catch you guys there or in another one of my videos. Peace.